All right, now we're ready for Unit 4 for Grade 4 Quick Practice. All of the quick practices in this unit are very heavy language. A lot of heavy language needed to understand these concepts and a lot of rehearsal of language. So doing these quick practices is very much going to pay off in your lessons when students are working on comparisons and on situation solution equations. All of your quick practice work, even from Unit 1, is going to start paying off in this unit. So boys and girls, for lessons 2 to 3, you're going to have two slides. Boys and girls, read it with me. 30 plus n. Boys and girls, n equals 40. Would you restate the statement? 30 plus 40 equals, class, 70. Read it with me. N plus 50. Boys and girls, reread it knowing n. 40 plus 50 equals 90. So the boys and girls are going to not only plug in the 30 for the n, but then they're also give them time a pause to come up with the answer, and then they give what the answer is, what the sum will be. N minus 5, read it again, 40 minus 5, class, 35, so on and so forth. So now you're going to get to lessons 4 to 7, and you get one lesson per day. So let's start with this. Boys and girls, read it with me. G plus 387 is 982. Boys and girls, what number is the total? Class, 982. Let's see if you're right. Correct. Boys and girls, what is the solution equation? Class, G equals 982 minus 387. You're right. Now, if I were you, I would consider using the scaffold of a math mountain until students get used to this language. So the math mountain will help them to remember the relationship of these numbers and how we can rewrite those equations. So if 982 is the total, and I know that the two addends or the two partners would go here, G and then 387. Now I can easily see what different equations I can come up with. So if I need to get G by itself, then I would start with 982 and I would subtract 387. G equals 982 minus 387. They've done a lot of this work in second grade. Boys and girls, read it with me. 718 equals 273 plus n. Boys and girls, what's the total? Think about it. Class, 718. You're right. Boys and girls, let's put it on the math mountain. We know that 718 is the total. 273 would be a partner, and n could be the other partner. Boys and girls, what would be the solution equation? Think about it. 718 minus 273 equals n. Let's see if we're right. 718 minus 273 equals n. And of course that variable could go on either side, but you can see how the variable started here because the variable started here, it ended here because it ended here, but we could also put that in any order. Now the next problem starts to get really complicated for whether you're second grade or you're in fourth grade. Students forget which one is the total and in a subtraction equation. H minus 473 equals 279. Boys and girls, what's the total? Class, H. Boys and girls, let's put it on the math mountain. H would be the total, 473 would be a partner, which means 279 would be the other partner. Boys and girls, what's the solution equation? H equals 473 plus 279. You're right. So you can see that the math mountain helps students to think about what those inverse operations are. If they don't need the math mountain, you don't have to draw it. It's just a scaffold that I've noticed a lot of students need as they go through writing these inverse equations. But then you get to problems like on the third day of this, where students are now doing multiplication division. So instead of doing the math mountain, you're going to do the area model as their scaffold. So here's the area model. And now we're going to say, oh well, we'll make that a better area model. So there's your area model. And I would say, boys and girls, read it with me. P times 9 equals 189. Boys and girls, what's the total? Or in this case, we're going to say, boys and girls, what number is the product? Class, 189. You're right. In an area model, that means the product would go in the middle. We would have one side length, and we'd have the other side length. Boys and girls, what's the solution equation? How would I figure out P? Class, P equals 189 divided by 9. Right. Boys and girls, let's read the next equation. 315 equals 7 times n. Boys and girls, what number is the product? Class, 315. You're right. Boys and girls, on an area model, 315 is the product. 7 is one side length, n is the other. Boys and girls, what is the solution equation? Class, 315 divided by 7 equals n. Let's see if you're right. Correct. Boys and girls, read it with me. 438 equals m divided by 7. Boys and girls, think about it. What number is the product? Class, m. Let's see if you're right. Boys and girls, we're going to plug it into our area model. M would be the number that we are dividing. It is the dividend, which is also known as the product. 7 would be one side length. 438 would be the other. What is our solution equation? Think about it. Class, M equals 7 times 438. Correct. Or 7 times 438 equals M. So you can start to see the relationship here, that we're looking at relationship between multiplication, division, factor, product, divisor, dividend, quotient, but that product, I can turn this into the product if I need to write an inverse operation and make it multiplication. Then when you get to lessons 8 through 9, you're going to have comparison statements. So I actually left these ones highlighted on purpose. I took off the pink boxes so we could walk through an example together. 140 equals 80 plus 60. This quick practice is going to help students with their multiplicative comparisons. So we're going to say, boys and girls, the student leader or the teacher will read, 140 is 80, and the class responds, more than 60. 140 is 60, class, more than 80. 60 is 80, class, less than 140. 80 is 60, class, less than 140. This is thinking about the relationship of numbers. Let's try another one. 200 plus 300 equals 500. So 200 then would be 300 less than 500. 300, if I was talking about this number, then that means it is 200 less than 500. 500 is 300 more than 200. 500 is 200 more than 300. And you would continue in that fashion. Then you get to lesson 10 through 12, so that will be day 1, day 2 of that one. Then you get to lessons 10 through 12, and by lesson 10, now we're looking at multiplicative comparison language. So I'm going to cover up the second row, but we'll keep the first row uncovered so we have an example. 3 times 8 equals 24. So 3 is 24 divided by 8. 8 is 24, class, divided by 3. 24 is 3 times as many as 8. 24 is 8 times as many as 3. So if I reread it up here, I could say 3 is 24 divided by 8. If I started with 8, 8 is 24 divided by 3. So this scaffold could be a comparison bar, or it could be just rewriting the equation. What we're saying is 3 equals 24. What would I have to say? 24 divided by 8. If I started down here and I started with 24, I would say 24 is 3 times as many as 8. So rewriting the equation could help students to know how they're supposed to say it. Boys and girls, so you could write the equation maybe right underneath here. You could do a text box and type it in, however you'd prefer. Let's read one more. 7 times 6 is 42. which means if we started with 42, 42 is 7 times as many as 6. 42 is, or 42 equals, 6 times as many as 7. 7 is 42 divided by 6. 6 is 42 divided by 7. Keep in mind this should all be choral response. A student leader or a teacher will read what's in black and the class responds with what's in red. They'll pick up the pattern and they'll get faster as we go. So you have a slide then for each day, lessons 10 through 12.